Hey guys, welcome to MVP Coach's Corner, where Bro Logic goes to die, covering nutrition, contest prep, PEDs, coaching, and living the lifestyle of bodybuilding. If you're just watching this video now, make sure you please like and subscribe, and turn your notifications for our next video. We can get this on here. We can vote on this. So I got jasmine, I got ocean, lemon, apple, rose, lavender, tulip, green tea, and whatever the fuck Argwood is. It sounds like some shit from Lord of the Rings.
Argwood.
Yeah, I like woody smells.
Or
Like
apple.
Argwood? Okay.
No, I was gonna say that or lavender.
I say
Then
apple.
it'd be calm. And it goes with the purple in the room.
It does. The lavender one is kind of like very purpley.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It is.
Wow.
I was gonna say, you guys were at the New York Pro this weekend. How do you guys like that?
I liked it.
Fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Hung out with some good
Was that
people.
was that your first time both going to the New York Pro?
No,
It was
that's my third
first
time. Third.
So your third and your first?
Yeah.
Was that your first pro show, Bree?
Yes, actually. And like getting to see, I saw Giselle in person.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so weird. It's like I see you all the time on my social media feed, and I'm like, whoa.
She's like, oh my god, that's Giselle. And I'm like looking at my
You're
phone,
like, who?
and like because I was doing check-ins, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, look, and I looked up, and I was like, what do you mean?
I just got done
like, who are you
posting a
talking-
girl, and I was like, there
where?
she
I was like,
is.
I thought she was talking about a girl that we knew, and I looked around, and I was like, no way.
Yeah.
And then she's like, no,
It's
no,
like she's
don't.
sitting
She's
right
like,
there.
she's like, she's in there. And I like go and I peek at her and I was like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Did you get to stay next to her so you have a better proportion of like how big she actually is in person?
No, she wouldn't
I
go and take
mean-
a picture with her.
I looked like, okay, so this is still from yesterday. I got rained on. I look like a poodle. I'm not gonna go take a picture.
Okay, so none of you can never give me shit for not talking to Antoine now because you wouldn't talk to
Oh.
Giselle.
Because I look like a poodle.
Oh, I will talk to anyone. I don't care.
Well, no, I'm not blaming you at all. I'm blaming Miss
I was the
Poodle
one giving you shit for it.
Well, yeah.
Poodle Poof.
I looked like a poodle. And I
Okay, Poodle Poof.
I looked like a poodle, so I didn't want to take a picture.
There were some pretty cool people there.
And we saw wellness guy.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah. He was the first person I saw when we walked in. I was like, we have to go say hi.
Well, his blonde beard makes it very, very discerning who he is.
Yes.
It matches our shirt.
He loves
That's how
it
I was
because
told.
it matches the shirt.
He goes.
I love that.
And everybody asks him about the shirt.
He asked us how long it took us to find the gold, and I was like, I think it took
To
me and Mark
find
like
the
6
gold.
or 7 mock-ups to pick one. Finally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it lucked out. Well, yeah, I'm happy he likes it. I have the green one too, but I don't think he's gonna dye his beard green.
No, I don't think that one's gonna happen. I think it's a
No.
little too outgoing for him.
I don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, also,
Happy
like,
Patty's
do
Day.
you want green on your face?
Yeah, true. I mean, he bleached it, but I don't know. It like goes.
It goes
It just
well.
goes with him, you know.
Yeah, no. He has that swagger.
Yeah.
If I dyed this blonde, I would look like an asshole.
John brought his dog too. Snarf.
Yes.
Did he really?
Yes.
Oh, dude, she was loving it the whole time.
It was awesome.
She was watching Snarf more than she was watching the show.
Well, when the
Aw.
freaking men's physique was on, I was like, puppy.
Hey man, we don't care about you at all.
Sorry,
I'm
but
just
true.
gonna
Dude,
pet
it
the
was so
dog.
funny. The one kid, this one guy sat right next to me. He goes, "Are you a pro?" And I go, "No, man, I'm not even close." He goes, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm only like 23." He's like, "Wow, you got some time." And I was like,
Oh
"Thanks."
my gosh.
I was like,
There-
"Wow, that kind of hurt, but thank you."
There was these people sitting next
I'm
to us,
talking about them.
and I don't think they've ever been to a bodybuilding show.
No,
Every
they.
time somebody posts, they were like, "Wow, so loud! Wow!"
Ooh, ooh. They wouldn't even be hitting a pose. It'd be a transition.
Oh my god.
It's
No.
so loud.
They have 110% been to a show before.
But like, I don't know if they've like seen me like this in person. Like,
Yeah,
I
they
put-
watch it on like Facebook or like Instagram.
yeah,
It was funny though.
it was great.
It was
It's
that group of
great.
people though, the one that told me I need more time. And I was like, damn, dude. Okay.
Well, I think his
have more
intent
time.
was you have a lot more time.
I know it's
Right.
just the way it came out was like
Because
Yes.
I don't think their first language is English.
No.
So
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, who do you have going for men's physique? And I was like, to be honest, I don't care about men's physique. And he looked at me, he was like, what do you mean you don't care? And I was like, bro, board shorts are not for me. He just,
Well,
and he-
I
think
didn't know
people,
I was in the bathroom for this conversation. I cannot.
I think people don't get sometimes, especially people who don't actually participate in the sport, is that you obviously normally like favor and watch the ones that you participate in. Like I can probably tell you like far in between before I started coaching women, how many times I actually stayed to watch bikini and NBT show. Maybe like a handful of times, right? Because like normally after opens bodybuilding and classic, if I had friends competing in it, I'd normally leave.
Mhm.
Especially if you're competing that day, because like you just want to go get your fucking food.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I like watching open. I really did like watching 212. That was a lot of fun. I
that was
just
cool.
even though I'll never be in 212, I just like watching it because like these were sitting there. There was a 6 foot tall guy in it, and I was like,
What?
yeah, it was me, Bree, and Goop's girlfriend sitting right there, Katie, and I was like, this guy should just be in classic. Look at his structure, and she
Mhm.
goes, yeah, what is he doing? And I was like, I don't know, but he does look good.
Yeah.
200, dude, he was 212 pounds, but he was like peeled, like
Yeah.
like
Oh.
insane conditioning. Like legs were there, like the conditioning on his legs were probably they were pretty close to the female women's physique. Women's physique blew everyone's conditioning out of the water.
Yeah, that was.
Well, I feel like the women's physique division, just the past 2 years, just has been honestly like almost like I want to say been better than our Olympian men. Like what's her name?
Talia,
Mhm.
Yes,
She was there.
she was
her
there.
conditioning
won.
is stupid, and
Mhm.
every year.
She she did Pittsburgh last week, and then she just did New York this week. But her
Actually, yesterday.
she won. It wasn't
Yeah,
even close.
I didn't watch it yet.
It wasn't even close.
I mean, the one other girl, like, she
No.
looked pretty good. The one girl
It
that got
looked
second,
good.
but like
She was not close though to Natalia's level.
Well, she's just so far ahead of the curve right now, too.
yeah.
Yeah, her coach was there. He was on the phone, and one of the guys ran over to him and was like, "You can't be on your phone while they're on stage." And he's like, "That's my client up there." And then the guy just
Yeah.
walked away.
Yeah, fuck off, please.
Yeah, you couldn't take pictures, or I would have like. taken
He
more
was
pictures
he
and
was
stuff.
Natalia's coach and Garrick's coach as well.
Okay.
Garrick, who won 212, looked really good. I really thought it was going Diego, but I don't know. I kind of favor Diego's physique. He's just a ball of muscle. Just
You can say Diego and me not automatically sing "Go Diego Go" in my head.
his name is White Gorilla on Instagram. He's crazy.
You know, I'm sorry. Swiping or swiping.
Swiper, no swipe. Cute.
Crazy conditioning on him too, and he's young too.
Is he
Yeah, apparently he's super young.
like super young, like 23, or like super young, like 27?
I think super young, like around my age, like closer to me than 27.
Well, hey, honestly, just to have that amount of muscle at that age, especially that level of maturity, speaks for itself, right?
And then Bionic Man was in the bathroom. Seeing his condition, like he's the amputee that's in classic physique.
Yeah.
His conditioning with what he has is nuts. Talk
Well,
about
dude, like,
taking the cards you're dealt and making something of it. I think he was probably the most peeled person I've ever seen in my entire life. Like,
yeah, no, I've posted about him before, dude. Like he comes in with phenomenal conditioning, and it's a cool example to see.
crazy
Actually,
too.
Dom Cardone is prepping someone right now for one of the wheelchair divisions. And for his cardio, the guy does jujitsu. So since obviously like as an amputee, you don't have much options stuff from a cardio perspective, like hand bike and stuff like that's a very common one. Well, like rolling when you come to like doing jujitsu for like an hour is way more calories burned than doing a hand bike, right? So he's actually his whole prep for cardio is open mat.
That's so cool.
And like it's like cool if like it's like a fun thing that person's passionate about. And obviously you're kind of dealing with again the card you're dealt. I'm leaning into my disability and I'm doing something that's more challenging than what I normally would do.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I love that. I love that. So today we're talking about female reproductive health, right?
Yes, sir.
I love that. I love that. Especially like us having a very diverse pool of people that we work with. And obviously all the information out there, especially the lack of information out there. I feel like social media, local, more recently has been helping out by giving more content or people posting more stuff about this. But I still feel like a lot of people are in the dark when it comes to this, especially for those who are new to fitness.
For sure.
Yeah, especially the newer ones, like they don't really get that same reach that you would get from like people who have been in the sport for a while that kind of know the ins and outs of like female reproductive health compared to like ones that are just fresh into it, unless they somewhat follow a popular coach that posts about it.
Yeah.
It's been more on the rise.
I was gonna say still like a lot of people still have questions and they don't fully understand it. And it's getting to be a more popular subject, which I think is a really good thing.
No, I agree. And so I joined King of Gains the other week. And so every contest prep I join a new gym because I just fucking hate talking to people when I'm like in that mindset. So I joined a new gym. So like 2 years ago was Iron Rev is the one I joined. And like before that, I think it was Jersey Shore Fitness Shop. And then like before every year it's something different. So I joined King of Gains. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm not gonna talk to me. No one's gonna know who I am. I'm good, whatever. My fucking first day there, someone walked up to me like, hey, I watch your content. I love that you talk about female health. And I was like, okay. And I was turned into a whole nother conversation. I was like, well, let's fucking defeat the purpose of joining here. But like I'm happy that like people are obviously watching and listening and seeing that like, hey, like these things are super important and make a really big difference. Especially because like a lot of these people they look for insight from their physician and their physician's not giving them any type of insight when it comes to this stuff.
No, I don't think a lot of physicians actually understand what we're doing.
Well, and they were also just taught to cover it with a band-aid instead of actually
addressing the issue,
fixing the problem.
Yeah, Bree, can you please share that experience when you went and tried to get blood work from your doctor?
So, I had a virtual call with my with an OBGYN, and they first wanted to basically just like give me pills. And then and then when they asked me to have blood work and to get a test done, and both those things were completed, and they're like, yeah, you're good, no issues, but there's issues, and we know through a Dutch test that there's other issues. I mean, I can dive further into it. I really don't care about talking about it, or who knows. So it's frustrating, and they just wanted to basically prescribe me pills to have an artificial period.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to do me any justice.
Exactly. And I believe they told you we treat symptoms here. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah. And like that's almost like being the used car salesman of bodily health, right? In the medical field. It's like, well, I don't need to know what the issue is, but if I give you this pill, your issue would be slightly less. I don't need to know why you're having it though, but it'll suck a little less.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it'll come back artificially, but like not for real.
It's like the equivalent of like breaking a bone, right? I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take Advil. I'm not gonna have it set. I'm not gonna have surgery or a pin put in it or put on a brace. Just gonna take Advil because the pain will suck a little less, but I'm not going to actually fix the problem. So it'll heal wrong and blah blah blah, and it'll still always suck. But I'll take the Advil.
Yeah. Permanent or not permanent fix. Impermanent.
I love it. I love it. So like all right, cool. So let's kind of break this down into buckets, right? So we always talk about like people should be in a certain position mentally, physically, emotionally, and obviously financially when it comes to starting a contest prep. Another thing I don't think we have ever covered is where should we be hormonally, especially as a female. And I think the first place I'm going to start with this is making sure they are off and have been off. Whatever, if they ever used a birth control product, especially obviously a hormonal one, but being off and making sure they've been off for a while, and obviously like they're in a better place from that, because we all know that it's not a quick fix, right? Like there are several months afterwards when you stop hormonal birth control where you're not in the best position, right?
Right.
Especially depending on how long
Yeah.
you've been on.
Right. Because it's messed you up for so long. And now your body's trying to figure out how to get back to its normal point, and sometimes it can't.
Like the human body wants to be in a position of homeostasis, right? Like everything we do in any aspect of it, if it's diet, if it comes to hormones, to everything, your body's goal is to go back to that point of equilibrium. And when we've been taking a hormone artificially for so long, our own version of that obviously becomes downregulated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we are no longer getting this source of the hormone, we obviously start off in a hole, right? We go through your first month, your hormone production is obviously in the hole. Your second month is slightly less than a hole. Third month, slightly less than a hole. But it may take months upon months. In some cases, if you've been on it for 8, 9, 10 years, it could even take of a year to get back to being where you actually should be naturally. And that's where you want to be. You want to be back where you should be before you normally start a contest prep. And the couple like basic things when it comes to this, and let's make it like super, super simple, right? And I'm Brie. I want this to be the most simplest answer. Birth control tricks your body into thinking your body is what?
Pregnant.
Exactly. And would a pregnant body in nature ever have to experience or do what a contest prep makes your body do?
No.
So our goal, or not goal, so if we don't fix this and we start prep with this, would you agree that we're literally fighting Mother Nature the whole way?
Yes.
Exactly. And like your body's one goal when you're bearing a child is keeping that child alive. And it even takes precedent over the woman's health in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at a lot of cases, it's either the child or the mother when it comes to all these scenarios, right? It's either that the mother's getting sick because she's not having enough nutrients, and the child's really robbing it from her, right? Because like the body will put priority over the mother to make sure that the fetus is nourished, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're in a contest prep scenario, right? Obviously, there's no fetus in the scenario of taking birth control, but your body thinks you're pregnant.
Right.
Right. So why would your body ever want you to drop a very large amount of fat? It wouldn't, right?
Exactly.
Especially like we're talking about contest conditioning. We're not talking about I want to lose weight just to look better on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to levels or body fat levels where a female would never reach naturally in nature.
Mm-hmm.
So like the thing is this. So I'll use like maybe for males maybe a little easier for them to resonate to this. Imagine being on test TRT dose, and the moment because like you shouldn't be on birth control before you start prep. When prep rolls around, you decide to discontinue your TRT dose, right? Imagine like that feeling and sensation you would have going through prep, right? Obviously, testosterone is a little more of a factor because it helps us with obviously recovery and stuff, while progesterone doesn't really help us with recovery. But the same concept is there. You're kind of going into that scenario with one hand tied behind your back. But let's kind of go into the negative effects, obviously, that can happen to female hormones when going into contest prep. Now, Cole, you definitely seen with some of our clients how they feel physically through contest prep compared to our male clients, right?
I think our females take, I'd say it's a good 50-50 mix. Some of them take a lot longer to recover. So I definitely have to play a lot more around with training volumes week to week with them as like
Mhm.
weeks progress compared to like a male where I kind of know, like, I know they're still recovering regardless. Like they might say it hurts, but like
Mhm.
there's still room for them to go. And they have that threshold to push. As for a female, I'm working around their cycle and things like that. So when their cycle comes, obviously their strength either sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, or sometimes it kind of stays around the same. And it depends case to case. Um, if I could use Victoria as an example, Victoria is pretty consistent through and throughout. I think there's some weeks she's a lot stronger, and there's maybe been a handful of days where she's been weaker, but I think that's just fatigue piling up there in comparison to anything else. Some of our other clients, huge dips in strength
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
around the time of their period, right before. And you kind of see it so that we have them send a log sheet and I can kind of see like the line of like where it's going, like just based off the number, not based off because we use the strong app here. Um, a lot of times it'll say you failed, but it does you're not actually failing. It's just the app not registering the correct
Yeah.
things. I wish it was better at tracking it, but
Yeah.
see like the
For sure.
dip in certain things as it goes, and it's more so in their later into their workouts. So the beginning is about the same, and as they get
Mhm.
later into the workout, that's when you see the dip kind of fall pretty hard.
Of course, of course. And another thing, like obviously consideration is that most of our ladies are natural. A good amount of them are, right? So this is gonna be one of the big factors that are gonna be a little different when it goes to a contest prep with some of our ladies. Is obviously when we are in contest prep, the number one goal is to lose fat. And going back to what we said before, not being in a good place hormonally, you're literally fighting Mother Nature the whole entire way. Now, if the goal is to lose fat and we're losing fat as well, we know that fat by itself is naturally estrogenic.
Yeah.
So as we lose more and more fat, our estrogen levels will come down as well.
Mm.
Now, many versions of birth control are not just progesterone, they're often a blend, some of them being like phytoestrogens or estrogen derivatives with progesterone. So both levels of these normally get affected too when we discontinue birth control. So in this case, we're doing two things simultaneously that are going to bring these levels down. Now, going back to what Coleman said, this has a major impact on recovery because prep is already stressful. And this is one of the big things I always say is different is that dieting women is not like dieting men at all because women typically cannot handle the same amount of physical stress and make strides forward.
Mm-hmm.
And if recovery is not there in prep, again, going back to you're fighting with one hand behind your back, because how hard can you really push yourself, right? And if you can't recover from training session, how hard can you, again, not only train, but are you actually going to be making progress in the gym? Now, I'm not saying you're going to be putting on a ton of tissue in prep or putting on any tissue at all, but whatever you did to put the muscle on, you kind of have to do to keep it. So if our strength is falling off 10, 15 pounds every single week, or 5 to 10% every single week, we're not doing anything to keep the muscle we put on. And we're gonna shrink during prep in a way that we really don't want.
Yeah, we're gonna lose size at places where we don't want it to be.
And like again, going back to our ladies divisions, they're lower body dominant classes.
Yeah.
So we're already pounding them with cardio. So in theory, like obviously we do see legs wither away sometimes.
Yeah,
And
and
now add poor cover on top of that.
that's the last thing we want to actually be withering away at that point.
So I had this comment. This is what's so I had this conversation with someone on Instagram the other week, which sparked my Instagram story post on trying to get females to come out and tell me all the positive experience in coming off birth control.
Mhm.
And this was sparked because someone's been on birth control for like 7, 8 years, and they're like, I've never been as strong as I want to be. I have never gotten benefits from taking Anavar each time I've taken it. They've really gotten stronger, and I have never really put on that much muscle. And this person's been lifting avidly for like 5 years. I was a little for a bunch of factors in there as well. And I was like, you ever think about stop taking birth control? And she was like, why? And my first thought was, and I was like, as any female athlete, no matter if you're bodybuilding, if you're playing an athletic sport, why would, again, going back to, we saw talk about why would a pregnant body ever have to lose weight? Whenever would a pregnant body have to build large amounts of muscle tissue? It wouldn't, right? The body would always obviously prioritize growing the fetus over building the tissue. That's why there's normally obviously a huge recovery difference when someone actually stops taking birth control, is that they recover much better, they put on tissue faster, so on and so forth. So making sure that we're in good range before starting prep will help with recovery, making, number one, you feel better throughout prep, you get better results throughout prep. Also, you'll be able to train with this higher level intensity. That's all of prep as well.
Is that the one
So,
that you put on your story?
huh?
Is that the one that you put on your story?
It is, because she was scared of stopping, because she was like, well, like, don't wellness competitors take birth control? And I was like, why would you think that? And she was like, well, they have much bigger lower bodies. But I was like, the lower body conditioning wouldn't be there otherwise. And I was like, anyone I really know who's in this industry, who's competitive, doesn't take birth control. If they do use any birth control, it is the non-hormonal copper IUD. And there's obviously some people it works with well, and there's a big group of people who it doesn't work with as well. And there's someone who I personally know who actually had a bunch of copper toxicity from the copper leaking into the bloodstream, and had really bad negative reactions. They had nerve issues, they had pain. Like their period cramps lasted like almost like 2+ weeks. Like it all depends on the individual, and that's why, like, hey, if you don't need to use it, obviously don't. Everyone's status is a little different depending on obviously the relationship you're in and so on and so forth. It may be easier said than done. But that's what sparked the story, was their thought that a lot of people in our sport still take birth control, which isn't really the case. It's just typically the people who are new to it, who don't know that it holds them back, because no one tells you.
Right.
No.
Exactly. Because their doctor told them X, Y, and Z. It's good for them. And
So Bree, question: how old were you when you got prescribed birth control?
18.
Okay, and you were playing lacrosse at the time, right?
Yeah, I played lacrosse since I was in 6th grade, and I played up until college. I originally like mostly took it because I had really bad like hormonal acne, or I
Uh-huh.
thought it was bad, and my gynecologist was like, "I don't, yeah, just take this one and blah blah, and you're going to college, so go ahead, here you go." And that was it.
Blow that mind. So, question: did your doctor know that you play lacrosse?
Yeah,
And the question: did they ever say, "Hey, do you know what, lacrosse may be a little harder because I'm giving you birth control now"?
no,
Well, because no one looks at it as a performance dehancer, right? It's never talked about.
No.
And like, I'd be curious, right? Instead of just giving, because like the only side effect I've ever heard anyone actually receive from a doctor is blood clots, right? That's the only one they told you probably too, right?
yeah,
Oh, like, is there any side effects? Blood clots, but it's like super, super, super rare. Is what they
right. And
always say.
I was like, well, isn't it like weight gain and blah blah? And they're like, oh no.
Yeah, because like, there's not always like an instant influx, right? Like back in the day, there used to be like a huge curve because they used to be super aggressive.
Mhm.
Um, they're not as aggressive because they've gotten a little bit more precise. Like, the best thing about humanity is that we have definitely evolved and gotten better. Um, but like, even like when they used to do those birth control shots, what, right? Like the one that you get like once or twice a year, and
Mhm.
like those ones, you normally see a huge weight gain out of the gate. Like you have a 5 to 10 pound swing after administration. So their oral one over the counter normally aren't that bad, but there normally is a almost like a ramp up of weight gain. It's
Mhm.
not immediate, the slow ramp up. But this is why kind of knowing that you're going to compete and understanding like what your long-term goals are. So if you do want to compete at one point, or if you don't want to compete, like we now know obviously all the negative effects of birth control from a metabolic perspective, from even a cognitive perspective, like how your thoughts are cloudier, happiness. That was the biggest one that I think I got from everyone, was every single person felt happier being
Yeah.
off.
Mm-hmm.
And like both of you competed before, let's talk about the emotional decline that happens during prep, right? Like you're not the happiest camper while
No.
dieting, right?
We broke up during prep.
I think almost every relationship I had until obviously I got married ended in prep. Every single one I've ever had, either me and my girlfriend broke up, either me or because of them. Some of that because of me being snippy, some of that because I didn't understand. But you're not in the best place.
Right.
It was mutual on both parties.
Was
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Oh
So-
yeah, it was.
Fight about
I'm
this
gonna
later.
flip in that right there.
I'll fucking set up the dunk right now. Don't let me.
The duck. I'm not even asking for the duck.
Dunk. DUNK.
Dunk. Okay, I heard duck, and I was like, "There's a duck now." Don't want to know about the duck.
I want a pet duck. That'd be kind of cool. But that's
So,
sidetrack.
Very.
so just so you know, the government doesn't want you to know that ducks are free. You can just go to the park. You can grab a duck. They're free. The government doesn't want you to know that ducks are free.
I know where I'm going tomorrow.
Stop.
I'm
So
tomorrow.
Duck park.
So, Will, I'm gonna make you watch this episode now that I'm going to talk about you. So, Will, the owner of Leviathan Labs, loves birds. Sunny is his pet parakeet, not parakeet, pet parrot or cockatoo. Um, and so he loves birds, but there was a meme about that the government doesn't want you to know that ducks and gooses are free. So he went to the park and he recorded himself taking a duck and he brought it home. He just walked to the park, he gave it some bread, he picked it up, put it in his car, and drove it home. And he had a duck until it flew away.
Oh.
But so if you ever want to pet duck anyone, they're absolutely free. You can go to your local park and you can just bribe it with bread. And now you have a pet duck.
I'm gonna name him
But
Flash.
going back to that, is that emotionally no one feels the best during prep. And if birth control already makes you feel slightly more depressed, you may not realize it because it's not an instant thing. It's not a switch. You don't take the pill the next day you wake up and you're a little more emotional. There's a curve to it. Just like the same thing with administration of any hormonal based drug, is that there's no instant return from it. It compounds over time because the half-life of these drugs. This is also why taking 5 doses of your birth control does not make up for missing it for 5 days. It doesn't work that way, right? But so if you're already in a not so good place, obviously adding more physical stress, adding the emotional stress from having to say no to things that you like before, having to possibly self-isolate yourself to an extent because like you can't go to all the same occasions, it's things that obviously would only make prep more challenging because like the whole entire sport's mental. So like if you're mentally not in the best place, you're making the whole thing harder on yourself for no reason.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I've been there.
Yeah. And like I will say, like, I feel like ladies handle prep the best for one reason only, is that I feel like they're much more organized than us guys. And for us in general, we may just forget things. And won't stress us out because we'll forget stuff, right? I think every female client I have probably reads the plan like 8 or 9 times and asks questions about everything, which I fucking love because no mistakes are ever made.
Yeah.
But I feel like they stress about things more because they're more organized individuals. Well, the ignorance is bliss for guys, right? Like if I don't know I fucked up, I can't stress about it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I just read my plan as we went. Like I was like, oh, I got this meal. Good. This
Yeah.
meal. Sweet. Okay. Damn, no carbs. Fuck, this sucks.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Like I'm positive that knowing you and like some of our other clients, that I know for a fact when they read their updates, they probably go to their fucking alarms and they fucking change like their alarms and they update their fucking Amazon fucking like food list on Alexa. Like they go do all those things immediately. And as a guy, I'm walking through ShopRite, updating. We're looking through my meal plan live. Like, oh, I guess I need bread.
That's me.
Yeah.
Now I shared the grocery list.
Yeah, it's gonna
Okay.
change again. It's gonna change again. English muffins
So,
are
like,
back.
there you go. English muffins are back.
Yup. Cinnamon raisins calling my name. It's been a
He's
long time.
drooling right now. I can
It's
hear
been
it.
so long.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what Suleiman is the happiest about, is having English muffins again.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about having mine back too. I didn't even want the pancake mix. If you were gonna offer me the pancake mix, I was gonna tell you no.
I'm not looking at the pancake mix. I don't think I would have offered that to you, honestly.
I don't know. It's somewhere in the playing cards eventually. We know my body.
Yeah,
It's gonna
true.
get too costly with English muffin.
You know what, Bree? Your new hobby is that you can become a baker with all this extra free time that you don't have.
Right.
I
Yeah.
have, dude. I got an uncle who's a baker. We're set. We're fine.
What's he baking?
So-
What am I baking that I'm
English
not?
muffins.
I'll ask
He
him to
doesn't
make.
make-
I'll ask him to make them. I think he'll do
You,
it.
you know what? I'm gonna message Ross. That's Ross's next thing. He has bolognese. We have his cookie dough. He has sauces. He needs I don't
Bagels,
know.
bagels, and
No, he should make a mix, like a
Yeah, English muffin mix, like
Yeah.
like a baking mix.
baking mix.
You pour in a tray, kind of like you can pour it in a muffin sheet. You can pour it into a loaf.
Yes.
There's your next $1 million idea, Ross. Ross.
Ross. I'm
you have to
texting you
listen.
immediately. I want in.
Yeah.
5%. I'll give you 5% right now.
Oh,
I
man.
love it. I love it.
That was
So we always do stress blood work for all our clients. And the one thing that's a little different when it comes to our female clients over our male clients is that when males get blood work, or blood work in general, is a snapshot in time, right? It's a snapshot in the day that you took it. Now, the one best thing about being a guy is that our hormones don't fluctuate throughout the month. They don't. There's nothing that happens to us that makes it happen. But as a lady, obviously, there's ebbs and flows with hormones when it comes to the time of month and when the period is actually coming. So making sure we time out blood work is really important when it comes to that. But this is also why blood work is not the only answer when we're trying to figure out the root of the problem. Also, when we're doing things involving recovering from extended use of birth control. So I know I made you go by a Dutch test, Bree. Do you want to walk me through your experience of using a Dutch test?
So, well, it was cool. A lot of people don't know what it is, which is also interesting. I feel like you should talk about that.
Can't be
Um,
doctor prescribed. Let me add that in.
Yeah, so it's not doctor prescribed. But I was basically sent little test strips, and it gave me instructions on which times to pee on the strip, and then let it dry, and then sent it in when I was done with everything. And then I got the results back like 1 to 2 weeks later. And everything, like, you don't need to be an expert to read it. Everything is explained on the test also, which I think is cool. And they have
Extremely detailed.
They have graphs and things.
It's actually super cool. Honestly, one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like
Yeah.
it shows you why each thing is going a certain way, because it breaks everything down into which chemical is going where.
Yeah. Although
Or
it's
what hormone or
it was cool to see.
Yeah. And Bree, so it's like you even had like the cortisol testing strips, right? So like if you woke up in the middle of the night, so can you go into that for me real quick?
Yeah, so I unfortunately didn't get to use that one because I had to use it in between the certain days. I didn't wake up that night because you were limited to the amount of water you drank.
Yeah.
So normally I'll wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom because at that time with my work I was drinking a lot at the end of the day. But I didn't get to use it, but it still showed my cortisol throughout the day. and he said it was 201.
I remember.
Mhm.
It was one.
Yeah,
It was
let
just 1 point
everybody
over
know.
the. It was 1 point over the high end.
And then when it comes to the peeing on the strips, that was as AM and PM, right?
Yeah, so it was it was on certain days. So like day one, it was
After
it was
first meal.
afternoon. No, it was like at night. After my last meal, it had like times on it too. And
Mhm.
then 2 hours after that. So whenever I was at home, so
Mhm.
for me it was like 8 o'clock, and then I had to wait 2 hours after that to then use the other strip. And then
Mhm.
there was an extra one just in case I woke up. And then the next day was in the morning. As soon as I woke up, I couldn't like, lay in bed for a little bit, which normally I don't.
Mhm.
And then wake up. Well, now I might, but um and so wake up and do that, and then I had to wait a couple hours again to use the other strip. And like
Mhm.
there were certain foods that were that I like couldn't have during that time. I mean, it's not like I was eating them anyways,
Mhm.
but we did have like avocados in my plan, but I used eggs instead. So like I
Mhm.
could have avocados, bananas, and then there were certain types of um like supplements or stimulants that like I couldn't use.
Mhm.
I couldn't use caffeine, um, and then other stuff that might be in pre-workout, I think, as well.
Mhm.
I don't remember the exact names, but it was all
Yeah.
listed in the directions.
Caffeine, malate, teacrine, stuff like that.
The stimulants. And,
Yeah.
and like the cool thing about this, and this is why going back to why I like using the Dutch test so much. So as you see, like there's a lot of testing going on throughout these weeks, right? This wasn't a day thing. This wasn't a 7 day thing. This wasn't a 1 day thing. This was over the course of multiple days. And this is something I actually got from Alan Kress. Like you guys said, like the Dutch test is not used in the medical field. It's not, and which is it's honestly fucking stupid.
Should
And
be.
just because it's not owned by big pharma, it's a very small company that created Dutch test. It's a test that's I've not really covered by insurance. I don't think I've seen anyone actually get covered by insurance by anyone. If
Nope.
anything, maybe you can get your HSA to reimburse you for it. That's like the best thing you could possibly fucking do, or submit it that way. But that being said, is that it is one of the only ways to determine where a female's hormones actually are because it doesn't give you a screenshot. It gives you how they're actually moving throughout the whole entire month. And
Mhm.
then there's a couple things that we saw on her Dutch test that we did not see in blood work. And this is a very common thing because, again, I have never seen a physician being like, hey, get this blood test done this many days before your period or this many days after your period. They just send you.
Mhm. And
And
on
nor is that a question I ever asked. When
Yeah,
is it?
and on the Dutch test, it obviously said like take this either. It was like either prior to or after, but like for me,
Mhm.
I haven't had it in a long time, so I don't know. And then I also filled stuff like that out on the slip.
Mhm.
I sent that in too.
Exactly. And that's why, like, again, like, if you are dealing with some hormonal based issues, if you are someone who is coming off birth control, if you are someone who is dealing with some experiences that you don't feel are actually normal, if you're not, if your regular generic blood work comes back normal, keep digging. The Dutch test you can buy directly from the website. You type in the Dutch test on
Amazon
Google, it
too.
comes right up. Huh?
On Amazon too, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
on Amazon too.
I would just go right to,
Yeah, go right through them to make sure no one's reselling it.
because then you like sign in and everything with
It's
your
no,
stuff.
it's their like official thing. On
Okay, it's probably just an easy way for them to sell it. But that being said, so like through this, we were able to see how our estrogen moved at the whole entire month, how our progesterone moved at the whole entire month. we're even able to see ebbs and flows when it comes to cortisol too, because cortisol is not necessarily a bad hormone, right? It has its place. Cortisol helps regulate our circadian rhythm, so it tells us to wake up in the morning, tells us when to go to bed. One of the reasons why obviously caffeine can have an impact on it, why she wasn't allowed it. Well, these are all things that are really important when it comes to obviously hormonal health and metabolic health. So if we are that person that was on birth control for a very long period of time and we still don't feel like we are normal, or we feel like we're on the same place, or we feel like we don't feel much different, maybe we want to dive in and see if anything is not exactly where it should be. And anyone watching this, if you do get Dutch test done, because you watch this and you decided to pay for it and you don't know how to read your test too well, or you want a second eyes on it, feel free to shoot any of us a message, or shoot me a message personally, and I will review it with you. So we can go over it together. But it's something I definitely believe that as a female that we should definitely do, if we did get off birth control and we are still dealing with some of the side effects from that. And again, it's only for, and not only, it's only $400, but it's worth it. It's your health, and it's one of the only tests that actually give you a perspective of what's happening as a female.
Yeah.
That so mind fucks me that no one in big pharma were like, you know what, this was a brilliant fucking idea.
So they don't have a right to it yet.
Well,
But no one else decided to do this. It's like a decade now almost.
Yeah, because they don't want you to find out the actual root and
they
fix
just
it. That's
yeah,
the issue.
exactly.
That's why big pharma doesn't want you to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, but it just blows my mind.
Yeah, big pharma is a scam.
Well, the thing is this, ready? Like, let's just even say I was an OBGYN and I really fucking love my job, right? Like, there's people who love their fucking job. Like, you're telling me now, even now, that there's a super passionate female OBGYN that's like, yo, Dutch test to the moon.
There's a few of them online, I'm pretty sure.
Honestly, probably, but like they've just been taught how to just prescribe the pill, and that's it. Like,
we need some Sakibs in the female OBGYN space. You know, we're gonna clone Sakib, and I'm sorry, Sakib, we're gonna clone you, and we're gonna sex change you, bro. And we're gonna have you get really passionate about being an OBGYN, so we can make some big change in that sector.
Do you have a sister?
What? He does.
There we go. What's that?
So Sakib, we're gonna make your sister super passionate around female reproductive health.
There we go. We're set.
there we go.
I'll pay you in MVP shirts because she likes the MVP shirts.
That's a pretty good deal if you ask me.
Right?
We gotta start making more.
Then we're gonna have to make a lot more.
Exactly.
We might actually need to hire a manufacturer.
So Bree, I know that obviously you have had some personal experiences when it comes to this. But like, do you want to share your experiences from getting off birth control and how you've felt differently? Because like I feel like at the end of this, I'm definitely gonna put a slideshow together from all the people who did write in and write their positive experiences. But like, if you don't mind, could you share how much different you felt after getting off your IUD?
So I got off my IUD probably, it was like a year ago, a little bit over a year ago now.
Yeah.
And
I think when we first started working together, right?
yeah, and I was in prep. I had just graduated with my master's, and so it's like hard to tell like what what was what, because I was also in prep. But I mean, being in prep, sometimes I feel like I still had the effects for maybe a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But before, I know I was definitely a lot more emotional. And I mean, that was probably the biggest thing that I noticed. But and it obviously made losing body fat a lot easier. But yeah, I would say I was just less emotional and probably more happy, and
Mhm.
I don't know.
No, and that's
I didn't
that's
like pay too close attention to it, which
Mhm.
which I should have. But
Well,
yeah,
that's important enough, right? Like, there's no true value on feeling better emotionally. There's no price to put on that.
right.
And that's the big thing is like I don't think it's something people ever tell anyone. It's like, hey, like by the way, like you may feel a little more gloomy than you normally feel.
Right. Like often.
And like this, so I don't know if you knew this statistic. This is a crazy statistic. It's roughly 63% of people who get prescribed antidepressants are white females.
That makes sense.
Uh,
Yeah.
and that blows my mind because no, I don't think any psychiatrist is like, hey, what birth control do you take, and have you ever thought about stopping it?
Right.
It just makes sense from the fact that it's more common for a white female to get birth control. It's pretty
Well, yeah,
common.
no,
Just speaking like demographically wise, it is super common for a white female to be on birth control before the age of 15.
well, yeah, no, of course, no. Obviously, we can go into like
Yeah.
socioeconomic status and stuff
That's
like
just
that.
like a deeper whole. I'm just giving a
Sure,
generalization.
yeah, no. But like, since they are prescribed antidepressants, also at the highest rate, you would think that someone would make a correlation at one point. And obviously, like a lot of people taking mental health more serious now, right? It's a lot more common for people to have a therapist. Going compared to a decade ago, like people don't shame people for it as much as they used to.
Mhm.
But that's the other correlation that I'm surprised has not been made yet is the
Right.
same demographic with probably the highest prescription rate of both. And the question is, have you ever thought about discontinuing one?
Right.
Because that was the number one positive thing that was written in was every
Yes.
person who stopped was how much better they felt. I had someone write they're no longer suicidal. I had people write that like they feel so much better, no longer depressed. The other one that actually I found really it's not interesting, but like I'm surprised someone actually felt comfortable enough to write it in was how much better their sex drive is too. So one thing that people don't talk about is that a drug design or the contraceptive is almost like preventive for some people because it down regulates their sex drive so much.
Yeah. Well, that was cool.
It's all about the human experience, right? And
Yeah.
like that's something that puts such a blunt on the human experience.
Yeah. And you've had some experience with fixing the
Mm.
issues that females have had from either, well, from mostly their birth control, right?
Yeah. And like so when we had the coaching program, the metabolic roadmap, we did a lot of marketing on Facebook.
Yeah.
And our messaging resonated with a lot of ladies and a lot of people who want to get in the shape before having children, which makes sense, right? You want to be able to keep up with them. You want to, losing weight is going to be more challenging after you get pregnant, and after you have a kid, you have less free time, and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of people who would come to us who wanted to get in shape before having children. And a lot of them will be like, hey, I'm going to stop my birth control soon so I can start getting ready to get pregnant. I'm like, hey, I'm super happy about that. You know what? Let's get, and this is where my first experience with Dutch Chess came in, was I had someone who we worked together. She was on birth control for several years, discontinued it. And then she was starting to, her and her husband started trying to have a child, and nothing seemed to be working. And she kept going to a in vitro specialist. And in essence, they told her that like, hey, like the only way you're probably gonna get pregnant is if we do fertility treatment and so on and so forth. And she was mind blown by this. So me and her had a conversation, and we went into why that's the case. She kind of obviously absolved a lot of blame and kind of took it internally that she just wasn't made to have children and so on and so forth. And my explanation there is, well, you were on birth control for a very long time. Did anyone ever tell you that extended birth control usage can lead to fertility? I mean, infertility and making having children much more difficult. She's like, no, I've never heard that before. And I was like, it's one of the biggest side effects of it, long-term use, is reducing the ability to have children and the likelihood you can have children, and how easy that process is. And after long story short, we did a bunch of work together, and a few months later, her and her husband had their first child, which was obviously a really cool feeling to aid in that. And she, in essence, sung my praises, and I ended up being a bunch of women who came to me specifically for that one purpose. Is their goal was to have a child. They wanted to be in the best place when they had children. So in essence, it was almost like I don't want to call it like a get off birth control, get in shape, fix hormone, get pregnant program, but it almost became that. So I was working with women, and these were Gen Pop people. These were not fitness experts. So you had a bunch of other hormonal issues compounded on top of the fact that I took birth control. I had a sedentary lifestyle. I also smoked a pack a day. I pounded caffeine like it's my job. I got 4 hours of sleep because I like to binge watch Netflix. I eat a bunch of shitty soy-based processed foods. I don't lift weights. Like there's all these things that obviously affected hormones in a negative perspective too. So it was just much easier to kind of like, all right, let's just fix everything at once, because just getting off of the pill is not the only answer, only solution. You have to fix everything else as well.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important because people don't realize that it's not like you taking it away like can bring you back, but like there's other things that
I would almost use like the male who and anyone who's worked in a supplement store has heard this. The guy that's taking gear and just stopped doing it. And he's like, yeah, man, I lost all my gains. I can't get erections anymore. And I've low sex drive. I feel like I'm always sore. Yeah, man, you just stopped it cold turkey. Like you didn't give your body a reason to start making its own production again. And like Coleman, like how many times being at Aries has someone walked in saying something like that regarding SARMs or PDs?
Oh, probably at least 3 to 4 times a day. I have a guy come in and they're like, "Hey, do you have anything?" It always starts off. The conversation starts like this: "Hey, so I kind of have an issue," and I'm like, "Okay, let me hear that." And I was like, "I know it's going one of three ways. My nutrition sucks. I don't know what to do when I'm training. I can't get it up."
Yeah,
It's those three every single time. And whenever it's the third one, they're like, so I did this and now I'm kind of having a little bit of issues and like it hasn't been the same in like the past like 3 months. And I was like, well, did you PCT after or do you know what a PCT is? And the most common thing is you have to do that, even if
yeah,
it's not actual gear. And I'm like, hey man, like they make like there's a section right over here that is made specifically just for SARMs. It is
yeah,
right next to it.
absolutely.
And they're like, oh, what about this thing? And it's like, we have like a product there. It's called like Man Up, and like I honestly don't think it works. Never use it. Never know. It's apparently for erections. And every time they pick it up, I'm like, I say let's go the safer route and let's take this product. I won't name the names I normally
Yeah,
recommend, but there's two that I normally do. I was do that, and then if you can get blood work, and then I'll tell them a place to get blood work from. I use Titan Medical, and that's who we are sponsored by. So I tell them to always reach out to them. I was like, call them, ask them that you want a blood work panel, that you're not that you don't want to become a client, you just want to see what your panels are, and ask for a full panel. And they're like, okay. And I was like, they're like, it's that easy to get blood work, and I was like, it's easier than getting it from your doctor.
yeah,
Like,
so much easier.
and you're not paying out the ass for it either.
Mm. And like going back to your point, ready? Is that the first solution instead of fixing the problem is just to get a pill to help with the direct problem, right? Hey,
Yeah,
I can't get it up. Give me something to get it up. Not, hey, I can't get it up. Let me fix the fucking reason why I
right.
can't get it up, because I should be able to, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, like I don't blame doctors 100% because it's also our culture, right? It's the quick fix mentality. Like, and this is why like I don't put 100% on blame for these things on physicians, because it's I I say this because I don't know if I was a doctor would I be as passionate as I am today, because I feel like I may have gotten that passion beat out of me from dealing with those people. And it's the reason why we sunset the metabolic roadmap. One of the reasons was I wasn't able to deal with those people ever. Like all the new, when we would get new clients, I would say out of every 10 clients, there's probably 3 I actually wanted to work with. And it was because the other 7 were quick fix mentality. I didn't work that way. So I was tired of hearing them bitch all the time about stuff. Cause like, I'm not going to change how I work ethically because you don't have patience. But that's how society works right now. So again, it's not, hey, Coleman, what's the best way to help me fix my hormones? So they're in fourth, my dick will actually work. It's, hey, just let me get the dick to work. Or when it comes to birth control, right? Or getting try birth control, it's like, hey, I have acne. How do I get rid of it? Oh, birth control, cool. I have cramping. How do I fix it? Oh, birth control, cool.
Yeah.
Not let's fix the solution, right? Or like this is one that actually makes me the most mad. Going back to that is women who are fairly new to being adolescent, like 15 years old, so they've only maybe hit puberty maybe 2 years ago, um, or and then they're being prescribed it, right? And the thing is like this, I don't want to compare it to being a male because not being like a male at all, but in the first few years of puberty, everything sucks, right? Like of men and women, right? Everything sucks. And it's your body going through a transition, and everyone like this is something we always joked about before, like the ugly duckling phase, right? And like growing pains, something that we used to commonly talk about years ago. It's not commonly talked about anymore, and we just think there's an actual issue when someone's dealing with shit like this. And like, hey, I'm sorry, you should just, I'm not saying suck it up for a little bit, but hey, after this is only going to be this way for the first few years. I'm not telling anyone to suck anything up for a few years, but when you get a little older, these won't be the same exact way. And I don't want to compare it to like being a dude having morning wood every day, being like in puberty. But like that's probably like the only comparison we have because like growing pain for us isn't kind of the same way at all. The worst thing is we get bad acne and we get morning wood. That's about it. That's like the worst thing about puberty for me. Compared to like a girl that never experienced menses before is now getting this every single month, and it's a super inconvenience and it's uncomfortable. And hey, am I going to use pads or am I going to use tampons? Well, I don't think anyone uses pads anymore. But well, like all of that,
That's the next
a big
poll.
transition. Next fall, pads or tampons.
Yeah.
Need to know what
Need to know.
need to know what to buy for a female.
For
Friend is
personal
asking.
experience.
No, friend is asking. Friend does not know.
Only
Sorry, my friend took my phone.
so
That's
I only say that because I remember seeing commercials for pads all the time in like the 90s and like the early 2000s, and I don't think I've seen a commercial for a pad in like I can't tell you when.
I couldn't tell you the last time I turned on my TV, to be
I
honest.
was just gonna say that.
Since the time Bree moved in, my TV has not gone on, and before
I
that,
don't-
my TV hasn't gone on in probably 3 years.
I don't watch.
I'm a
The only time I actually
Video game.
watch live television is like when I watch a sporting event, and that's about it. So like when I watch like UFC fights, it's probably the only time I actually. And you know what? No one's actually paying for ads for tampons or on the UFC channel. So let's be very clear. So maybe that's also why too.
Tampons,
So,
maybe. Tampons, maybe. They're used
For
for
their
the
nose.
UFC in the nose.
Yes. Okay, so definitely not pads then. So no one's paying for pad commercials at the same time as a UFC fight.
Yeah, no.
Settle.
I love that. So I guess like all in all, when it comes to female reproductive health, those things need to be squared away when it kind of goes to wanting to get ready for a contest prep. And there's a couple of buckets I would kind of put things into. Is first thing I'd always say timeline, right? Like when do I actually plan on competing? Now, if the timeline within the next 1 or 2 years, I would say like if we are using some type of contraceptive, think of some type of game plan to get off of it. Now, this is not something that has to be weaned off for most people. Obviously, if you have an IUD, you have to book an appointment and have that removed and all that fun jazz. But if the goal is to compete in the next 1 or 2 years, this is something I would definitely make a priority because I would not ever prep for a show if I feel like I couldn't give it my all, right? And I feel like a lot of us, when it comes to something, it's such a big time commitment. It's a big monetary investment. It's a big emotional investment. I wouldn't see the point of doing all that if I knew I couldn't be my best.
Right.
like Coleman or Brie. Like if you like, hey, this one thing makes a 25% difference in how I look. But I'm just gonna ignore it and keep moving forward. Would any either of
Right.
you do that?
Like
Can you say that again?
like you literally told me to get it out and I was like, done. Like I didn't know,
Yeah.
done. Like I thought it would be different because whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fine.
But it's okay, but you the moment that you knew, you're like, fuck, it's gone, right?
Yes.
And
Like
like
out of here.
and we had a couple people obviously who we didn't know they were on birth control in the moment. We found out, we had them stop and discontinue, and they immediately felt better and immediately saw some more progress. And it's one of those things. It's like, don't put yourself in a situation where you're like, fuck, I'd be making more progress if,
Mm.
right? Because like those ifs,
They
when
eat
when
you.
the dust clears after the show,
They
are
eat you.
going to be the things that will eat at you.
I mean,
And
even now thinking like I was on birth control for how many years and like being an athlete and like just where my strength would be at if I just
Yeah.
wasn't on
Yeah.
yeah,
Crazy.
I've definitely been in the same spot, but definitely can't relate on the same level as female. Obviously, I'm a male.
Yeah.
But definitely like the if situation, like
Yeah.
there was a couple things like they were like, damn, like if I just like one or
Yeah.
two more would have been like, who knows?
Yeah. No. It's like, hey, if I move my schedule and I got extra hours of sleep, my whole entire prep, maybe I would have dropped like 3 extra pounds of fat, and maybe the 3 extra pounds of fat would have been the difference of me placing between this and this place, right? And things like that, like those small things that you, especially if you know of them, right? If you know of the things, they eat at you when the dust settles, right? After the adrenaline wears off from show day, and you have a time to really introspect, especially if you don't place what you want to, right? You're going to reflect on the actual prep on what you could have done differently.
Mhm.
And something that's such a big factor like that, you don't want that to be the if, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when the solution is just stopping it, right? It's not like you have to climb up a mountain, talk to a wizard, then go on a quest, fulfill the quest, bring the gold to the wizard, and then get your code to get your birth control removed. You can just book an appointment.
Yeah.
Or stop taking the pill.
Or just literally throw it out. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, just don't pick it up from the pharmacy anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people, I don't know if you know the ones under the skin.
Yeah, all those ones. Yeah.
Those are so bad.
They do this for males now too, for TRT.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Pellets.
I read a case of something like poisoning someone already.
So I don't know if you knew this. So that's how Tren is administered to cows. It's a pellet.
I don't doubt it. That makes
So
sense.
it's injected as a pellet, so it breaks down over time. Because like you can imagine going up to a bull every single week and stabbing with a needle gets pretty fucking annoying, right?
Yeah.
So they're injecting it in the big pellets into the muscles, and the pellet breaks down over the course of weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And it's a very similar concept to his birth controls. And in some cases, I don't know the brand specifically. There's some of them that you just have to wait for them to dissolve. I don't believe that you can get them fully removed. Um, in those cases, obviously that's a different battle. Or even the people who've done the shots. I don't know if the shots are as popular as they used to be. I haven't had many people who've got them in a while, just because the side effects are not the most enjoyable ones.
I know some.
Yeah, so like those people, they kind of have to wait. They're kind of like, I don't think you're fucked, but like you can't undo getting the injection. There's nothing to do about it besides just wait it out.
Mhm. I can't imagine trying to come back from that either.
Yeah, that would be a very, I've never had to actually fix anyone who used those. Because like the thing is this, right? Like obviously our metabolism makes a big impact on half-life of drugs, right? So like depending on how active that person is and their genetics and everything else, like this drug could be active much longer than what we want it to be anyway. So even when it was supposed to be done, it may not be. And speaking of how many times they've used that too, drugs compound, right? When half lives overlap each other, they extend. This is why we use long this is one of the reasons why we like using longer ester drugs, especially because the compounding effect obviously makes it work better. And the same exact thing with any drug is the compounding effect. This is why, again, birth control, when used properly, is taken daily, right? Or when it comes to like anything else, like there's like hormonally is taken daily, T3 is taken daily, right? The compound effect of half-lives. Or these longer esters is like 3 times a week or 2 times a week. Again, so it's a compound. But yeah, making it a priority to make sure that you're in the best place so you don't have that FOMO when prep is all done.
Yeah.
Do any of you have any parting words? Because this is definitely going to be a two-parter, but that you want to leave anyone with?
Go get your hormones checked. Maybe even go get a Dutch test. Evaluate where your mental is at and how you feel if you are taking the pill. And maybe consider getting off of it for all the stuff that we talked about.
Cole, how about you, man?
Speaking in terms of the tiers that we set up, pretty much so financially, make sure you actually know how much things are going to cost. I can't tell you the amount of times I've had people tell me like, "Wow, I didn't know it cost all this much," and I was like, "Yeah, man, like all you have to do is like a little bit of research. It's not that much. You just gotta look. Um, Support for your mental health and emotional. Find a support group, a close group of friends. Keep it small. I would keep. That's the best way to do it. Honestly, the bigger it is, the more chances you run into more issues. It's not worth it for all that. And then hormonally, if you're a female, I highly advise getting a Dutch test. Gives you a real accurate representation of everything that's going on. If you're on birth control or not on birth control, still take it. Get a Dutch test. Figure out where you are hormonally. Males, get your blood work done. You guys are lazy as hell.
Y'all are lucky.
You guys are lazy.
Yeah.
You guys are lazy.
And you guys are have your own episode. Don't worry. We'll talk to all you guys.
We'll get you guys next time.
Yeah, you're second.
Maybe a couple weeks.
Ladies first.
Yeah, ladies first before we talk about buying Jordans and not buying PCT stuff. We'll go into that.
I didn't do that.
But that being said, we'll put this in a few buckets, okay? If you're still using birth control, write down why. Write down your true actually why, because a lot of times when I ask this question, the answer is I don't know. If you feel like you're sexually active enough that you really need it so you don't make a mistake, I totally understand, right? Like, I am not here to judge anyone's journey at all. But obviously there's other ways that we could do things from a contraceptive perspective, right? So write down your whys, right? Why do I do this? And then write down how you actually feel. And now write down the things about your fitness journey that you're frustrated with. And if any of the things that you're frustrated with are things we talked about today, and your why isn't a good enough why, I think you have your answer. So that's what I want to leave everyone with. Until next time. So if you're watching this, please make sure that you like and follow and subscribe. If you have any questions about today's episode, please shoot any of us a message. Those who get the Dutch test done, who would like a second eye to look at it, feel free to shoot me a message and we can book a Zoom. If you go to our website, Team MVP Coaching, you can book a consult directly from that link. And just make sure you write in the notes that you want to discuss your Dutch test, and I will have no issue reviewing it with you. But take care, guys. Until next time.